We're continuing to follow developing news out of southeast Albuquerque. Two APD officers are on leave after a deadly police shooting. Police say it all started around 3:30 yesterday afternoon when a witness called saying a man shoved a woman into his SUV at Robinson Park.
Officers were already in the area. They were able to identify the vehicle as well as the clothing description that had been given to us by the caller.
Police say when they tried to pull over the SUV, the driver took off, leading them on a short chase. Now, the woman was able to bail out of the SUV a short time later. They say the man kept driving, though, eventually leading officers to an area near Edith and Garfield. Police say that's when shots rang out, killing the suspect.
It said he had a gun in his hand, and our officers gave him verbal commands and orders, and shots were fired.
Police haven't said if the suspect pointed the gun at them or if he fired shots too. Two officers are on leave. We will have much more from witnesses coming up in our next half hour. As always, we will continue to follow this story. As we get new facts, you can get them too on our KRQE app. Also new this morning, one officer is recovering from a gunshot wound and a suspect is dead after a police shooting in Roswell. Roswell police say it happened just before 9 last night at the Taco Bell on North Main Street. They say a drug task force made up of Roswell police and Chavez County deputies were working with the feds on a narcotics investigation. Police say when the task force approached three suspects who were in a car, one of them fired at officers. They say that's when multiple officers returned fire, killing one of the suspects. The other two suspects were taken into custody. The officer who was shot was taken to the hospital. Now he's expected to be okay. Charges have not yet been filed. This morning, we now know more about what happened to the day a bicyclist was hit and killed by a suspected drunk driver.
I yelled at Coulter, said, "Watch out." He tried to swerve, and that's when I believe he hit the person on the bicycle.
That was the passenger of the car. Coulter Cook was driving when police say he hit and killed Reed Bart Rutledge. It happened earlier this month inside the Tanawan gated community. The passenger said Cook looked down at his phone before hitting Rutledge. Police say 25-year-old Cook was weaving and bouncing off curbs before the accident and at one point was driving on the sidewalk. Other witnesses told police what they saw.
The next thing I knew, Steve said, "Oh my God, he hit the guy on the bike." And I looked up quickly and I saw the gray Dodge, or big gray pickup, up on the sidewalk, pushing almost against the fence.
Cook claims he was not drunk but refused to take a breath test at the scene. Officers did get a court order to get a blood test. Those results are pending. He's charged with vehicular homicide. A Santa Fe County Public Works employee is accused of selling county property on Facebook. The Sheriff's Department says they got a tip that county property was being advertised for sale on Facebook. Detectives contacted the person using the profile. An undercover officer purchased 2 sets of tires being advertised for $900. Detectives then went after Public Works employee Chris Roybal for embezzlement. They say he confessed to stealing the tires and selling them. The man who police say crashed his car outside the U.S. Capitol on purpose could have his first court appearance as early as today. Antonio Perozio was arrested after ramming his car into a security barricade. He later told reporters there was a problem with his patent for a new clothing design. But an attorney said the 51-year-old has a history of mental illness. Police searched his vehicle after the incident but didn't find anything hazardous. The investigation is still ongoing. Zimbabwe has called on the United States to extradite the American dentist who shot Cecil the lion. Zimbabwe's environmental minister says the nation has started the extradition proceedings and hopes the U.S. will cooperate. Dr. Walter Palmer allegedly paid $50,000 to kill the lion near a national park. Now Cecil's cubs could also be in danger since their father is no longer around. A male rival could eventually kill them. A bat in Rio Arriba County has tested positive for rabies. Officials say the bat was found at a business in Velarde last week. Residents say it was acting strangely and at one point was unable to fly. County Animal Service officers captured the bat and turned it over to state health officials. A former UFC champ. Dozens of people crowded a southeast Albuquerque neighborhood after a deadly APD shooting.
I was taking a nap and I heard 6 gunshots.
Just boom, 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 boom.
This woman was captured by our cameras yelling at police in Spanish after they say a man was shot and killed in the road yesterday afternoon. Police say it all started around 3:30 after a witness called saying a man shoved a woman in his SUV at Robinson Park. The woman was able to bail out of the SUV at some point. After that, police say the driver sped off, leading them on a short chase, eventually stopping near Edith and Garfield. Officers say the suspect had a gun and ignored warnings to drop it. That's when shots were fired, killing the suspect. Now, neighbors in the area say they heard as many as 8 to 10 gunshots. Police haven't released his identity yet, but say the suspect is a repeat offender.
He's in his mid-30s. He has an extensive criminal history, and as recent as May of this year, he was arrested for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
Police say the suspect did have a gun. It's unclear if he pointed it at officers. 2 officers are on leave. Officers who witnessed the deadly shooting of homeless camper James Boyd will be allowed to testify in the case against 2 fellow officers charged with his murder. Attorneys for both sides fought back and forth for nearly 2 hours yesterday on what could be brought up during next week's preliminary hearing. Judge Neil Candelaria decided officers who were at the scene can talk about what they witnessed, but not say if they thought the shooting was justified. Officers Dominic Perez and Keith Sandy are charged with second-degree murder.
I think that it is allowable. Officers at the scene, how they perceived the situation at the time, how they felt, how the situation was going.
The judge also ruled the state will be able to use APD's standard operating procedures as evidence to show if Perez and Sandy were following training procedures when Boyd was killed. We have some breaking news for you this morning. Albuquerque police are on the scene of a pedestrian crash in the South Valley. Now, it happened after 5:30 this morning in the area of Coors and Quail Road. Police are asking people to avoid the area. Now, we'll continue to bring you updates as the information becomes available. An apartment is damaged after a fire in northeast Albuquerque. Firefighters were called to a 3-story apartment complex on Wyoming between Osuna and Spain just after 11:30 last night. AFD says fire crews found smoke coming out of one apartment where a mattress was burning. They were able to put out the flames in the bedroom. One person was taken to the hospital for smoke inhalation. No one else was hurt. No word on what caused the fire or how much damage was done to the apartment. A son is pleading for clues into who murdered his mother decades ago. Maria Padilla and Susan Laporte were both raped and killed in 1985. Padilla's body was found in the Bosque near Rio Bravo. Laporte just 6 months later in a park in Santa Fe. They both were linked by DNA, but the killer was never found. Now this woman's son is now searching for answers.
And if there's anybody out there that knows anything at all, I mean, just do the right thing, you know.
Investigators say it's unlikely the suspect has stopped committing crimes, but somehow his DNA just hasn't ended up in the national database. Crime Stoppers needs your help finding a missing New Mexico man. Back in May, Isaac Morfin Sr. was antler hunting in the Hopewell area with 3 others. They split up and he failed to return to the meeting point. State police searched for him for 6 days without any success. Police have not ruled out foul play. Now, if you have any information, call Crime Stoppers at 843-STOP. New details after an SUV was swallowed by a sinkhole in Albuquerque 2 weeks ago. Lynn Parsons was driving near Indian School and America's Parkway when her SUV fell through a big sinkhole caused by a water break. According to a letter by her attorney to the Water Utility Authority, the agency is 100% to blame. She claims there were no barriers or signs warning drivers about the leak. The attorney goes on to say a utility authority employee never told Parsons not to drive through the area. Now, Parsons claims she suffered shock and trauma. Sources told News 13 that Parsons filed a claim saying she has PTSD, which could mean a lawsuit is on the way. An Albuquerque senior affairs driver is being called a hero after saving a child from a locked car. Last month, David Gallegos was delivering meals to the Alameda Community Center. That's where he found a woman yelling for help. She had accidentally locked her 3-year-old granddaughter in her car. Gallegos was able to break in and get the little girl out. She was not hurt.
This was a scary situation. This was a real emergency. David helped prevent what could have been the 10th child fatality since 1998.
Gallegos was also honored by the city 2 years ago for saving the life of an elderly client who had fallen in her home and could not reach anyone for help for days. A Roswell family can now breathe a little easier after the return of their pricey possession. We told you last week about Triton, a Savannah cat worth $8,000 that had vanished after a burglary. His owner, 6-year-old Hillary, was devastated. She and her mom weren't sure if Triton was taken or slipped out during the break-in. Now they have the answer. Triton was found hiding in a hole in the back of a building. Someone saw the story and posted the sighting on Facebook. Animal Control then helped lure him out.
I couldn't sleep because I always sleep good with him, but now that he was gone, I couldn't go to sleep because I kept on dreaming of him.
They say Triton was okay and that they're just happy to have him back. Well, there's a new deputy in Socorro County. This picture shows TK, a 4-year-old Dutch Shepherd. His handler, Deputy Rebecca Gonzalez, brought TK along with her from Tennessee, and he was just certified this month through the National Narcotic Detector Dog Association. He's also trained in tracking suspects. TK was put to work just the other day on a traffic stop on I-25. Well, the tow